Welcome to Residential Tech Talks. I'm Jeremy Glowacki, Executive Editor of Residential Tech Today. On this week's podcast, Bill Lehman joins us from Indianapolis, where he is co-owner and president of the home tech integration firm Millennium Sounds. Bill and I have known each other for a few years now, ever since his company was asked by Control4 to install my house-wide network and integrated audio-video system. Although I try to suck up to Bill and his co-owner, Matt Reeve, as much as possible with extra editorial coverage after all the great work that his team has done in my house, that's not why I had him on having him on the podcast today. What I really want to talk about is this cool new venture involving the Indy 500 racing champion, Tony Kanaan, and his custom-built racing simulators. I had the chance to attend a Millennium-hosted fundraiser at the company's new Motor District Garage Condo a few days ago, where I totally embarrassed myself on the racing sim while Tony Kanaan looked over my shoulder. It was devastating. Despite my horrible virtual driving, however, the event location and the technology itself was just too cool not to share on the podcast. It was easy finding time on Bill's busy schedule, but I'm happy that he's here to talk about all the new stuff and get caught up. So, Bill Lehman, thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. I'm excited to talk about the event and the Tony Kanaan Sims.
Yeah, it was a great fundraiser. Rainy day, but inside it was a really nice space, and I got to see this facility that I'd been reading about on your LinkedIn post, and I wasn't sure what a Motor District Garage Condo really was going to be until I got there. It's in Westfield, Indiana, which your company, your headquarters or your showroom is based in Indianapolis, but this is just a little north of Indianapolis. And I just thought maybe if you could help describe the concept of the Motor District Garage Condo, what that space is, and what the kind of pitch was when you guys got involved with that.
So a couple years ago, we were at a customer's house doing work, and he had mentioned that he was going to build this Motor District Garage and kind of talked about it. I'm a car guy at heart, so I love talking cars. So we were talking cars, and he mentioned he was going to build these car condos, and it was based off of car condos in Minnesota. And so we kind of talked about that, looked them up, was really interested. And one of the things I liked about it was, you can have a cool garage at home, but you're kind of by yourself, right? So that's not that fun all the time. And if you can go around like-minded people, kind of makes the experience more fun. Talk to other people about their cars, check them out, see their space and how they finished it out, get lots of cool ideas, and just kind of community-based garages.
Yeah, and just to get the visual right for people who can't quite place what we're talking about, this is not just like a little storage shed. This is a two level, sort of split level space with a giant garage door on it. So you could put a lot of stuff in there, and in fact, it's kind of more than just one space. You've got a couple of spaces there, right? That side by side kind of scenario. Do you have two, or is that one big space that I was in?
We have the space next door is unfinished, and so our space is about 1,000 square feet on the main floor and 500 square feet upstairs. And most of the people are having a bathroom or two, kitchens. We have 2 full bathrooms, a kitchen, shower upstairs. You can't live here, but obviously if you spent the night and you wanted to take a shower in the morning, you could. And then the way we buy this space is it's drywalled and rough plumb for a bathroom downstairs. And so you buy it kind of raw, and then you come in and finish it the way you want. So you could see some that are just basic drywall and concrete floors. And then in our unit, we did the bathrooms, the kitchen, epoxied the floors, put hardwood floors upstairs, and obviously finished all the drywall, painted the sprinkler systems, and tried to make it as nice as we could. So some parts of it I said are nicer than my house.
Well, and you You left out an important thing. I think I might have missed it. With there's AV in there. There's audio and video technology, and you guys are essentially the integrator of choice there in the development. If folks want to put that in, right?
Yeah, so one of our thoughts in building this garage was to try to um, get business from the people finishing their garages and then also on site. So we're going to put in 4 cameras on each building, run fiber optic cable from building to building, and have a connected network throughout the property. And so it's going to be pretty cool as far as, we're going to have security everywhere. All the units can access that camera system. So it's pretty neat. And then obviously in the unit, we have speakers, TVs, cameras, sound system, and obviously try to show that to potential clients.
Yeah, and the thing that I didn't really kind of grasp until I was there was that the spaces are being used for more than just storing cars or hanging out. They're absolute opportunities for party spaces and fundraisers like what you guys did there. So, what besides what you did there, have you seen anything unique so far? Or is it mostly just been people kind of getting moved in and settled in at this point because it's still being built?
So there's been several events here so far. Bentley of Indianapolis brought in some cars, and they did a night event. There's been a couple McLarens one night that they had. That was a couple of garage owners brought those. And then I think it was 2 weeks ago, they had a Ford GT from each era. So like a 65, a 2005, and then a new model, Ford GT, which is really cool. And then I think in 2 weeks, they're going to have Cars and Coffee here too. So lots of events. It's kind of a community space where people can get together and just have fun, relax, and check out cool cars. Or even people could have a wine collection here or any type of collection they want. So it's not just cars. I think most people, that's kind of their passion is cars, but any collection or just people wanting to hang out with like-minded people, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and just to not leave out some of the important stuff, you were able to raise almost $10,000 for the Firefly Children and Family Alliance during this fundraiser. But the cool hook here, besides just doing something good for a family service organization, is that you connected with one of your really cool clients, who I have had the honor of doing a little commercial video production thing when I was in between jobs with him and you guys, which I appreciated that little sort of gig there, temporary gig while I was getting through my job transition. But Tony Kanaan, Indy 500 champion, you've worked in his home and you've done some other projects with him. And I followed this thing on LinkedIn that you started, a little video piece with him where you're going to redo one of his basement rooms in his beautiful house that I believe was just a storage space, and he's turning it into his racing simulator room, which has special requirements for HVAC because it gets really hot when the sim's running, and you're in a basement in Indiana, so you've got moisture issues to contend with, so dehumidifiers and plus just the network that you need for that thing. And Tony, besides being a physical race driver, actually going to Brazil and racing and in the Indy 500 still has this sim kind of racing thing going on as well. How did you guys, I know your love of cars probably came into it, but how did you guys get involved with him and this sim kind of concept that he's got going? And like, it's his own really customized version of an existing sim. Is that what it is?
Yeah, so when Tony moved to Indianapolis 4 or 5 years ago, he contacted us to put Control 4 in his new home. And I mean, we did automation of everything. So lights, thermostats, garage doors, motion lights, lots of cameras, obviously. And so we started working with him about 4 or 5 years ago. And then as time went on, obviously we kept working with him, and he wanted to add more and more things, and then, common maintenance on the systems. And so we had talked about racing simulators. After COVID hit, obviously they were doing a ton. The drivers were doing a lot of sim driving. And so he talked about building his own sim. And so we decided that we'd love to sell that. With shipping and things, some of that got delayed. So we've been talking about this for probably a year and a half. But now it came to fruition. So he has his own frame, racing seats, steering wheel, and then he is one of his sponsors is Micro Center, and so Micro Center will put the PCs together, and so we can get a complete package. And then with Tony, he also will set those up, and then we can offer that service to come to your house or business if you buy a simulator, and work with him on setting it up, teaching you how to use it. And I mean, it's so critical. I didn't realize how involved you have to be and how much you have to know about setting a simulator up. It's similar to a race car. There's so many buttons to check and things to dial in and adjust. It's crazy. So we're learning a lot, and excited to have him on board to be able to help us give people an awesome experience. The simulators are amazing. It's crazy how realistic they feel. I think you can attest to that.
Yeah. I'm not good with the virtual racing. Even something like a Wii setup. My kids always smoke me because I just have a really bad time of the dimensionality of it. But I think what his was the most realistic experience with the vibrations on the turns when you get to the rumble strips, and just the sensation on the wheel fighting you on turns, and then I would say that I just had a hard time on that sort of Grand Prix type of track where you have these really tight hairpin type of backup turns that you have to shift down and brake a little bit. It's like I thought you weren't supposed to brake on a racetrack, so I didn't know how. I'm used to the oval, but then watching him race and understanding how he really does and uses the track was really cool. I actually flipped the car. I couldn't believe, literally, like, obviously I didn't flip over, but the virtual car flipped. I'm like, God, like, that's bad driving. But I was talking to your partner, Matt, and he was saying that when he initially started working with the sim, the seat was really built like a race car seat, where it was very tight because you wanted to fit very like form fitting around you. And that one of the kind of tweaks that was made there to make this a sellable product is to make the seat more like consumer friendly, because there are going to be all different size people getting in these seats, and you don't need to make them all custom. So that was kind of, you had a back and forth with him and helping with that final design a little bit.
Yeah, so we built a sim with Tony, and it was a different brand, and we used like a Sparco racing seat and did some things like that. And then it was also a full motion, so it would move. And one of the things that we wanted to do was be able to sell it to commercial clients. And so if there's an apartment complex and they want to put a racing sim in there, we're already doing golf simulators and things like that. So we thought the racing sim would be really cool. And one of the things we learned as we built this other sim it's really cool. There was two issues. One was you're kind of stepping into up and into this simulator, which is kind of I don't know if I'd say dangerous, but it's kind of hard. And then the racing seat was an actual racing seat. So if you had anybody that wasn't small, it's really hard to get in and out of. So that was one of our things that we wanted to do when we built this, was make it accessible for everybody. And then something else is the full motion kind of gives you motion sickness.
Oh.
And so, we don't want people to get sick. Even on these, you can feel a little motion. And so for the general public, we want to make it as, user friendly as possible and not be like this hard to get into, difficult to navigate and then get sick simulator. So the Tony Kanaan model is much better.
Good judgment on that one. I have to say that I think I don't know if it was like the anxiety of being watched by a professional driver that made me a little like queasy, or the the experience of it. But there's definitely some visual kind of cues that feel realistic there. It was interesting. I wasn't the one that asked Tony the question after he got done racing, but someone said, "Hey, how much does that really mimic what you experience on an actual track?" And he said, "Well, you don't get the G forces." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, G forces." Like that's another level, isn't it? We're not there in the sim, but it's a pretty realistic experience. And you get the toggle shifters on the handle, on the steering wheel.
Yeah, the paddle shifters.
Paddle shifters. There you go. That's the terminology. But I thought it was a lot of fun, and I felt like I could definitely get better at it if I didn't have an audience watching me while I was driving. I could putt around for a while until I got comfortable. And you had two there on display, so it's proof that you've made more than one, which is good to see. It's not vaporware. Have you've got a commercial space? Matt was saying that's already ready to buy one, or you've got some potential sales there already?
Yeah, we have a couple commercial clients that we've already done golf simulators for, and they're looking to add race simulators. So it was kind of a rush to get the garage done, get the simulators dialed in and built. And so the last few weeks, it's been a little bit of a scramble. And so now it's time to get people in and let them experience the simulators.
Well,
and hopefully sell some.
Well, hopefully you do. Yeah. And I want to continue our conversation, Bill, but let's take a short break first.
Do you want superior smart home automation at a great value? Shelly Wi-Fi Relays by Allterco Robotics cover DC to line voltage, allowing you to control lights, outlets, appliances, garage doors, pumps, and much more. There are Shelly sensors and power measurement devices to help you measure temperature, humidity, lux, or motion, and electrical consumption from single wire to 3-phase with neutral. You can use Shelly with a licensed driver for Control 4, Elon, or other premium systems, as well as your customer's existing hub, voice assistant, or any platform that accepts REST, MQTT, or CoAP. Shelly can make IoT very easy. Available now at Blackwire, City Electric Supply, and Worthington, or at shellyusa.com.
Welcome back. We're talking with Bill Lehman, president of Millennium Sounds in Indianapolis. And Bill and I were talking about racing simulators, but I also, as I like to do on the podcast, I like to kind of get into the background of the person I'm talking to. And as much as Bill and I have worked together on my house and other projects, I don't know if I really know your background so much and how you got into this business. So I wanted to go way back first. What were you like as a kid? Were you a techie kind of kid? Did you like taking stuff apart or doing anything? Or did you kind of get into this thing as a business person?
So when I was young, I liked to take things apart. I wasn't really good at getting them put back together perfectly, but I like to take them apart. And then when I got a car, I was really into car audio. And so that kind of sparked my interest of, speakers and audio and things like that. So that's where the start was.
And then did you ended up going into trade school, tech school? Is that correct? Or
so I went to Ivy Tech. So really wasn't any tech learning. And then I worked for another company for I think 4 or 5 years before I started Millennium Sounds. And so I obviously got a lot of experience there. And then Matt was getting out of college, and I conned him into starting a business with me. And so when we first started, we did a lot of car audio. We did home audio, but majority of our work was car audio. And so obviously over the years that's changed, and then it was into automation and then commercial. So yeah.
But you didn't start in Indianapolis. You were north of here, right?
Yeah. So Matt and I grew up in Warsaw, Indiana. We're actually neighbors, and
Okay.
married Matt's sister too, so it's pretty deep.
I forgot about that. Oh yeah.
So yeah, Matt and I knew. I moved in next door to Matt when I was in, I think, 7th or 8th grade. I think Matt's 2 years younger than me, so we hung out a lot. You know, rode bicycles and did car audio and all that fun stuff when we were growing up. And then when he was getting ready to get out of college, I was kind of ready to start my own business, and talked him into going in together. So here we are.
Well, how do you then
20 some years later?
What was the initial transition from car audio into doing projects in homes? Because that's a different animal and a different beast. I would say that typically you've got a client who just says, "Hey, can you help me out with my home system? I got this thing that I'm trying to set up," and you're doing their car. But it's not usually as easy on that side. It's typically more like the commercial to residential transitions like that. So how do you make that leap into doing home projects?
Well, keep in mind, Jeremy, we're talking 20 some years ago. So we started in 1999. Car audio was a lot bigger then than it is now. And I would say most dealers, electronics dealers, did car audio and home audio. So
Fair enough.
it was kind of an easy transition. Our showroom, although it was pretty tiny when we first started and wasn't much in there, we had both home audio and car audio.
Okay.
And so our business was stronger in the car audio than the home audio to start. And it quickly changed over the years. And then I think we stopped doing car audio in maybe 2007 or 8, somewhere in there.
And I finally put it together. You guys formed your company in '99, which was right at the edge of the millennium. So I believe that must be where you got your idea for your name. You're going to be the
Correct.
Millennium Sounds.
Yep.
And so then when do you make the leap to Indianapolis? Because that's quite a different market than Warsaw, I'm imagining, for you.
So in probably 2007 and 8, we had a builder that we were working with in Indianapolis, and we were actually driving from Warsaw all the way down to do work for him. And then 2009, we decided it was time to open up a showroom and a permanent office in Indianapolis. So we opened up the showroom on 82nd Street, which is still where we're at. So same location as where we started.
That's a beautiful location, by the way, and you guys have made updates to it, and now it's a Control 4 certified showroom, which gives you some extra fun toys to work with there. And I've been there many times. It's very centrally located and very close to where I grew up, actually, in Indianapolis. So familiar stomping grounds for me. What are some of the cool things you've added to that space recently that you feel like have kind of kept it current with the newer technologies that are out there available to consumers?
So recently we just did Josh AI in the showroom. Josh AI came in, did a training for us. We got their demo kit. And then actually while they were there, I think they were only there maybe an hour and a half. We actually installed the system in the showroom while they were there, tested it out. And so that's a pretty cool new product. It's much more user-friendly than the other options, which is kind of cool.
For voice control, obviously, for anyone that doesn't know what it is at this point. Our industry audience will know, but I always joke if my dad's listening, he may not know what Josh AI is unless I've told him. So just a more, I guess, I'm trying to think of the word. It's regular language style communication. You don't have to be so stilted with the way you talk, and you can give it a lot of commands in a row, and it can understand what you're asking it to do, right?
Yeah, I think the big thing for us was with Google and Alexa, people had to say the exact right phrase, and then they forget and get frustrated. And with Josh AI, it's kind of, it kind of understands what you're saying. And then it can also kind of program itself to your habits. And so it's kind of a AI, right, system. So it's always learning and becoming more user-friendly to what your habits are.
Now, I always talk about different trends that are going on in the industry, and we talk about lighting fixtures and we talk about wellness and all these big, broad terms. But the one really practical thing is, COVID related, all the people working from home and people having to connect with their office from home. You've done some stuff with a lot of commercial spaces as well, and boardrooms, even in maybe a residential setting where it's a shared space. So what sort of maybe huddle space technology or conferencing technology are you guys working with these days?
So we do a lot with New Line, which is an interactive touchscreen panel. And so that's basically, you can get it 65 to I think 85, I think maybe 55 also. And basically that's cameras, microphones, speakers, touchscreen PC, all built into one platform. And so instead of having all those things with wires everywhere and, it's kind of cumbersome to use, those pieces are really cool and nice for, small to mid-size conference room. And you could also put those on, rollers and roll them around, make them portable too, if somebody didn't have the budget to, put that in each room. We're also doing a lot of direct view LED walls. Those are really awesome and cool.
Yeah.
We just did I think it was 28 feet long and 7 or 8 feet tall direct view LED wall at District Tap.
Nice.
On 82nd Street. So if you're ever in that area, check that out. It turned out pretty awesome. It's huge.
I definitely want to check that out. And that just goes to show that it's the right application for that technology, because you would not think that a premium category like that would necessarily catch on yet in like the Midwest, where things are a little maybe more conservative or slower to take. And I live here, so I can say that. But in a commercial space like that, that's an awesome opportunity. And it's so much better than some of those spaces you go into where they don't have the proper video panels on the wall. They're just doing LEDs and
the
TVs, and they're trying to matrix them, but they've got the borders around them. So you're watching like a sports center or something, and they got a face up there, and they're like in 6 different grids on their zoomed in face. So these micro LEDs, it's just so much, it's like a giant video wall. It's like a giant screen, but really crisp. So awesome.
The other thing we were able to do there was give them adjustment on their touchscreen that they can turn the brightness up or down depending on what time of day it is. So, at night they can turn it down because that thing will light up the whole place. So that's pretty cool that they have that adjustment and it's on the touch screen, and then they can format, they can make it one big screen or 5 or 6 small screens. So depending on what's going on, they have complete adjustment of that, which is handy for, a restaurant environment.
Absolutely. It just seems like you guys, as much as you do residential, you do have a lot of either mixed use, like residential, commercial, or strictly commercial. Do you have like a sense of what your percentages are and how much just single home residential versus like all that other stuff you might be doing?
So our mix is we're probably 60% commercial and 40% residential.
Wow.
And that's dollar volume.
Okay.
Obviously, I think residential, you're going to spend a little more time if you take the dollars versus commercial.
Yeah.
People are more critical of their home than an office space. So you're taking more time to decide, where's this light switch going? Where's the keypad going? What color does it need to be? Whereas on a commercial space, it's maybe planned out in the beginning and not as critical.
And I think a lot of people would be surprised at how competitive this area is, specifically North Indianapolis and then the suburbs of Carmel and Westfield and Fishers, Geist, those areas surrounding Indianapolis. There are just a lot of AV integration companies here. And for me, as a person that reports on this stuff, it's like perfect because I get to know a lot of people locally. Do you find that competitiveness ever comes up? There seems like there's always enough business to go around, but do you cross paths with your peers in the industry at all?
Yeah, we do. And it's obviously different commercial and residential who we're bidding against or going up against. I would say, like you said, there's enough business in this area and there's a lot of good dealers. So it's not, I think there's enough business to go around and everybody's doing, for the most part, a good job. And so it's more about the relationships than it is, dollars, trying to get to the bottom line. And obviously we try to sell, our service and then make a fair profit. I always tell people we're not charging full retail and we're not selling it at cost. We're trying to make a fair profit and pay our bills, support our families, and give everybody a fair price, which means it's not free.
Absolutely.
But I think it's just, we try to build relationships. And I would say that's something we do a little different than some other people is we don't want to charge them an outrageous amount if we can get away with it one time. And we don't want to give them something for free and then them expect it. We want to be fair with them every time and build a long-term relationship. And so sometimes that works for us and sometimes it doesn't. But our goal is just to be consistent and be fair with everybody every time. And then hopefully they call us whenever they need something.
Well, as one of your clients who also happens to write about you guys, I have to say you guys are super fair and great to work with. I love working with Andy Bang, who's one of your techs. He's very comfortable in my house. I'm comfortable having him in my house. He always knows the answer to a question. So appreciate all the work you guys do and great seeing you around town. And congratulations on the new sim business there. I hope that goes well for you. And best of luck with the rest of the year. Thanks so much for your time today, Bill.
Thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, if anyone's interested in learning more about the Sims, I was going to give your website, which is millenniumsounds.com, but how would they learn more about the Sims actually if they're a consumer wanting to purchase or work with you on that?
I would say the best way to get a hold of us is just call our office and set up a time to come out to Motor District and check out the Sims. I think, as you said, it's hard to understand exactly the experience. And so we want to get people in and let them try it out. It's not your typical video game, right?
Yes.
This is more realistic and it's kind of like a older kids experience. It's not, like a PlayStation.
Right. Yeah.
So much more involved and accurate.
Big boy toys.
That's right. That's right.
Well, thanks, Bill. Bill Lehman is the co-owner and president of Millennium Sounds in Indianapolis. And like I said, you can learn more about his company and reach out through millenniumsounds.com. And that wraps up today's show. If you're new to Residential Tech Talks, please subscribe to the weekly podcast on your preferred platform and consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, check out all the latest residential tech news at the magazine's website, restechtoday.com, where you can also subscribe to the bi-monthly print or digital magazine and to our Tuesday and Friday email newsletters. Until next time, please stay safe, stay inspired, and let us know if you have a great story to tell.
Residential Tech Talk, lighting specialist to Arc Residential Tech. Home automation, smart home or smart house.